Hello, everybody. It's Sunday night. That means it's time for a podcast. Welcome to ProducerHax, a Gamedev podcast with me, myself. I'm TheFiddzz, or Blair, producer at Bauer, and with me, as always,
Billy, or Alien. Canadian Alien.
Canadian Alien. Today's topic is going to be about launching a game, what goes into that. It's going to be... I don't know. Billy's running this one this week, so I'll just be asking questions.
Well, first off, I guess let's start off.
I've never shipped a game.
Yeah, well, only. Hey, no.
Wait, no. First, we got to recap the week.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's start off.
Playing?
What am I playing? I didn't play anything all week. Again, 2 weeks in a row, almost nothing except today.
It's your half your job.
I
is playing games.
I know. No, we had a very crazy week at the studio today. This past week, it was a lot of fun. Lot of stuff on the move, right? So many secrets, but it went really well. It's something we've been building towards for quite some time, and it went really well. So, but it took up a lot of time.
Yep.
I didn't see my family for
the
better part of 2 weeks.
The worst PowerPoint presentations I've ever seen.
Oh, that was not even
the deck, not like
no, sorry, yeah. And I borrowed someone else's deck and kind of like shoehorned in a few pieces.
It was so much stuff.
It was like trying to teach someone. It was basically this topic, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
kind
of perfect for this.
I almost wanted to like take that deck and show it here, but it would not be appropriate, right? So, but no, so the week was mostly that. And then when I wasn't doing that, and when I missed my family for the entire week almost, I was going to stream last night. Didn't work out. I just needed to like hang out with family for a bit.
Gotta do some family stuff.
But I played Uncharted 4 today. And my God, is that game good.
I haven't yet.
That is a, like, Naughty Dog. Mwah. That is,
Did you play Last of Us?
Oh yeah.
Did you like?
I loved The Last of Us. I that was probably one of my games of the entire generation for last generation, and I bought it again on PS4, but I haven't got around to it.
Right.
To replaying it, I'm really worried about replaying it now, being a father. Simba is off camera here. He really wants to get on cam.
Well, I know, buddy.
he's talking to us. Hey bud. He's got. Look at that. I don't know if he's in the camera.
I have a cat now.
Yeah, Simba gives no F's about who he jumps on. Hey bud. Oh, he's just gonna like headbutt. This is what he does. So but yeah, so I played that. So I played Uncharted. I played a little. I booted up Doom, but I haven't had a chance to play it. I'm gonna probably play it tonight. Simba has no chill today. I meant to lock the door upstairs. I did not. It's
totally fine.
So yeah.
This is how we get the views, man. The dogs and the cats.
This is how it goes. Yeah. So, how about yourself? What did you play this week?
I finished Dark Souls 3 on Tuesday.
That was a lot of fun to
Wednesday?
watch. Tuesday, I think it was. Yeah.
Tuesday.
It felt like it was Tuesday. Yeah.
I killed the last boss on Tuesday, and then we went back and had to fight. I don't know what he was called. Like, not the final boss, but the hardest boss.
Okay.
The Nameless King. And then we moved on to Transistor.
Oh, nice.
So I've always gotten like 2 hours into it, and I'm like, I gotta finish this, and I always forget something happens. Yeah. So we beat it Friday. We fought the final boss.
Yeah.
And that game's amazing. Love Supergiant Games. Talk about them all the time.
Oh yeah.
It's such an amazing group of talented. Like, just the music, the voice acting. It's wonderful. So beat that, and then we moved on to Doom.
Nice.
And it
looks good.
It is so amazing. It is.
And you're playing the campaign, right?
I'm playing campaign, Nightmare mode.
Oh, nice.
Super hard.
PS4 or PC?
PC.
Okay.
With a controller. No, wait. No, I'm not using controller. Just keep
yeah. Cool.
And it is exactly what I wanted from a Doom game or first-person shooter type game. Like, this is totally in my wheelhouse. I love it. It's Doom 1 or Doom 2. I think it's more like Doom 2 in my head.
Cool.
Lots of monsters, lots of killing. I thought I'd get really bored of the melee attacks where you grab the arms.
Yeah, like the assassination type.
You feel like
kills.
a bad ass, and
you're
going around these like little. They've made little. I don't know what, like fighting pits or something. They've crafted the levels to make you. It's like a multiplayer map. They have this mechanic where you have to rip out these gore flesh box things. I don't know, but it's like, this is how you shut down the demons. Is you rip out this heart of this like spawner or whatever.
Yeah.
When you do that, it's like, oh, it's go time. All the demons are coming to defend it, and so it's like it ramps up. Metal music starts playing, and you have these kind of attacks and stuff. So it's so amazing.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
The audio is gonna be fun today.
And
he's falling.
Me.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So watch. Oh, careful! He's gonna knock that right over. Simba gives no F's about
There we go.
anything. There's just cat butt now.
It's just
Great.
cat butt.
Hey, buddy, you're ruining... the chroma is victim to Simba. This is Simba's thing.
So it's amazing, and I can't wait to finish playing it.
Yeah.
Can't wait to keep playing it on stream. It's so amazing, and we got the death counter going.
There goes Blair's phone.
And now he's out there.
Simba's piecing out, and tail's all puffy. So hopefully the phone's not broken.
What kind of podcast is this, man?
Okay. Sorry, Simba. You got to get moving.
So, so that's what I'm going to play this week. Next weekend. Yeah.
Nope. Okay, he's doing bad things now. Oh God. Okay, Simba, you got to go, bud.
Okay, I'll hype up the stream.
Yeah. Okay.
While you run away with a cat.
Okay. Seriously. He's literally breaking everything.
He's being a cat right
He's
now.
breaking everything. Okay, we're gonna.
There he goes.
We're gonna have to go. Put him away.
Well, now I gotta like keep people entertained. I'm not used to this. Well, this is weird and awkward by myself. We're so professional on this podcast. We have no idea what we're doing every week, and that's why it's so great. But yeah, it's May Along this weekend, so we won't be doing the Sunday stream for ProducerHax. We'll have to find another time to do it. So
yeah. All right. We've broken a controller,
my phone,
a TV, phone, bunch
stack
of
boxes you have. That's just like
there's gonna be some
really
editing,
weird.
guys.
All right.
All right. So let's get into the thick of things.
We're doing it live.
Yeah.
So today's topic. So yeah, for now the real thing.
Yes. Shipping a game.
We're gonna focus on talking about, I think, what it requires to launch a game.
Yes.
This is something called finaling. This is usually the last month, 2 months. You just slurping pops?
I'm just giving her. I've not slept well.
This stream we give zero fucks today.
This is just the quality. Though.
Quality is, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. This is a dev only shirt. You can't get this one. Mama needs. So the last 2-3 months of a game.
Yeah, it depends on the project.
Depends on the project. Some are longer, some are shorter.
Yeah.
What is all involved in that? Things like, wait a minute, you released day one DLC. It's something you just took out of the game and made me pay extra. So we'll talk about things like that. What happens to devs when we're shipping? So I guess, Billy, over to you.
Yeah, so I think what really kind of kicked off this topic was, one, the project I've been working on very recently, but also we just talked about 2 major titles that launched this week.
Yep.
And they launched differently.
And this ties into the crunch topic too, as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. This is meant to be kind of almost like a tie-in / follow-up to crunch. The interesting thing I saw this week was that we had Uncharted launched on Tuesday.
Yep.
But
which
it's
is
gone through a couple
standard.
Yeah, that's industry standard. But it actually, not long ago, was going to do what Doom ended up doing, which is launching on a Friday.
Oh,
now I think Doom probably was trying to capitalize on the Friday the 13th like marketing beat.
Okay, yep.
But
didn't even think of that.
But to launch on a Friday is pretty abnormal, right? Like it's not usual. Sometimes you see worldwide launches. They were going to do that with Uncharted, and then they delayed a couple times, right?
As a fan, I want a game to launch on a Friday.
Yes.
As a dev, I know why games launch on Tuesdays.
Yes, exactly. Well, there's 2 reasons. One is that historically shipping happens so that games can launch on Tuesday. Although now shipping has changed so much in the world that a lot of times the suppliers have the game on Sunday.
Yep.
And then they go, oh, like Sunday the latest. Usually sometimes even the Friday before because of shipments and how they arrive. And then they have like an orange sticker on it that says like do not sell until such and such date. Yep. You see this a lot actually. And then but the problem I think is that, like you were saying, as a fan you want it to launch on Friday because it's
when
you go home I got a weekend, right?
Play a whole weekend of the game.
And just give her, right? But you're right, like for a Tuesday there's advantages of Tuesday because the worst thing as a dev is launching something on a weekend when you're already kind of like
it's been a long week.
Now
you definitely
we want to go home
weekend.
Hopefully, but yeah,
that day.
And we're gonna get into like fire and forget is done. Right? Like, I think that's something
games
more
and more.
Longer, yeah, it's not ship a box copy, it's gone.
Yep.
It's ship a box copy or a digital copy, usually tandem, and support it.
Patch it
right out of the day. Yeah, like day one there's probably a patch, right?
Support it then for 3 months, 6 months. Destiny 2 years, whatever the cycle is, whatever your plan is as a studio.
So maybe we'll start off first by explaining that filing mode.
Maybe at a very high level.
Yes, exactly. So, how it fits into the overall schedule.
Concepting.
Yeah.
Or like.
So first there's ideation.
Ideation.
Which is just like usually 5 or 6 folks.
Think of
like
cool
core
stuff.
leads, right? Like an EP, an executive producer / project director.
Creative director.
A creative director, technical director, so art director.
Design.
Maybe
a design.
Maybe a lead designer as well. So someone sits like
but
right hand man.
5 to 10 people. Right, all the core people.
Yeah.
People that would stay on. That would run that project from start to end.
And they're working out the high level details and goals of what
are
that
pillars?
Game will be, right? Yeah. Exactly. Usually you come up with a set of pillars that you can always tie everything back to.
Pillars would be we want an open world, that's a pillar.
Yeah.
Crafting, okay, that's a pillar.
Well, and it's even higher than that in a lot of cases, right? It starts even like starts off usually with like character. It's going to have characters, and characters are going to be a core piece of this, and exploration is going to be a core piece of this, and things like that. But then you're right, it kind of like separates it into these like slightly narrower pillars or columns almost of like, it's going to have open world. Like now we're starting to define where that game's headed, right? So,
and that's where producers start to come in.
Yes.
And own whatever chunks of these
features or exactly the pillars, right? The pillars are often the foundation of what features sit on top of it. So
okay, so that's ideation. Think up stuff. Then you hit something called pre-production.
Yes, made up of a few phases, usually concept, and then what's often referred to as like feature planning, like getting the core features stood up.
So if you want an open world exploration game, you're gonna need the ability to walk.
Yes.
So that's where you start to break out. What do we need to be able to fulfill this pillar? Oh, you want multiplayer? Okay, well, how do we have matchmaking?
Yes,
that's a feature
all
set.
The pieces,
all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so you think up your pre-production stuff, and then you switch over to
what's often referred to now. There used to be just go like pre-production, production, ship it.
Yep.
That was the old way of doing things. Now it's much more granular. It's there's bigger teams. You need more detail. So now it usually goes from that pre-production into what's often referred to as first production, which is like standing up the first bits of the game.
Something called a vertical slice usually happens there. Take all your features, a very base level of them, throw them into one level, and see what happens, kind of thing.
Yeah, make sure that everything ties together. It's working the way you hope it would.
Yep.
So
roll out of that, roll into production, which is feature complete.
Yes.
So when you have all your features,
So you get into
and you can start implementing, start making the levels, making the quests or whatever it is you're doing in your game. After production, so this is where the meat and potatoes
of what we're going to say.
Goes in. This is when your team ramps up to, in AAA anyways, a really large amount of people start joining the project. And then so after production, well, it is part of production, but we're going to break it out as its own thing, but it's something called filing.
Filing is exactly what the word that is completely made up. If you look up, if I recall, filing is not actually a word. It's something we've made up in Gamedev.
Cool.
But it's the act of essentially ramping down and shutting down production. So production is, like Blair said, it's getting everything done. And then filing is taking all the things and making sure that it's working. We're ramping down. We're closing out bugs. We're triaging bugs first and foremost. So, you may have 5,000 bugs. You can only fix, say, 2,500 left. And not only do you have 5,000 to start at the beginning of the filing process, QA is still filing 250 per day.
Yep.
So you do the math because I can't. But we have spreadsheets. We have tools that do that for us, that tell us, okay, we think this is what it'll be. And that slowly trickles down, right? Like it might be 250 for a week or so. And then it's like, then it starts going down to like QA is hitting like 225, 200, 150. It's just because like you're sharpening the point of like what you're willing to let QA file. You're saying like, we don't care if grass doesn't bend anymore. Like what we really care about is, can you get out of the world kind of stuff, right?
The game load? Yeah.
Yes, exactly, right. Performing at the frame rate that you've set as a benchmark. So, so that's a big part of it. We get this question a lot, and it's one we've talked about recently with a few folks. Is as we go into filing, not only does it mean all those things, but it means, hey, if fewer and fewer people are fixing bugs, why does that happen? What happens when we hear about stories like Day One DLC? It's because we're shrinking who can touch the build, essentially, right? Like you have to be very cautious in those final weeks of the build's really touch and go, right? If you throw everybody in there at the same time, pushing all their features, all their fixes in.
You need to step back one thing. People might not know what a build is.
That's true, actually. Yeah. So if you hear us ever talking about the build, it's the actual.
It's the game.
It's the game. Yeah. It's we often talk about like there's a nightly build, there's daily builds, things like that. But it's the act of a computer or several computers actually taking all the fixes, all the content, all the changes
over the day.
From the day or from the week, whatever it might be,
it is, yeah.
From the team. All their stuff goes into like a central repository, and then it goes boom, compiles it into a build. And
then QA looks at it and goes, "Holy cow, everything's broken."
Hopefully, by the time you're done filing, not everything's broken.
Oh, no,
anymore.
not in filing,
but,
yes, yeah, in daily.
Day to day, it can be that, and that's actually why the more people putting in changes, the more people putting in fixes. As you get to the later stages of a project in filing, you have to be very cautious because one fix can actually cause 2 knock-ons or
3 or
maybe
17.
Yeah, exactly, right. So,
and you might think like, "Oh, I'm just putting in one line of text."
Yeah.
But for some reason, that line of text touched this conversation, and now the VO's off, and because the VO's off, the translation's wrong, because that's wrong. Now the level doesn't load, and it's like, why? I don't know, but that's what happens.
Snowball effect, right? It happens. And I see it already in the chat. It's the too many cooks in the kitchen, right? You got to really be very cautious.
It's
about
also
that,
not that anybody's bad at their job or anything like that.
No,
but there's junior and then there's senior level people, and you only by the end want the most senior people going in there, just because they and we usually have for some of the big bugs near the end of Dragon Age, it would be engineer, programmer. Would fix a bug, and he would have 2 programmers standing behind him reading his code before they submitted the change. Because the risk is just so you have like the tech director and the EP on Dragon Age, which was a Mark who was a programmer, so they would be standing behind like
random programmer,
well, super senior programmer like Tim Smith or something, and being like, okay, and it's not that we don't trust any of these people, it's that it has to be perfect, because if it goes and breaks something, suddenly we don't ship on like the day we're supposed to ship, right?
Exactly right. You get really tight to the wire, right? And that's the thing, because as you come out of filing, your goal for filing is to get into certification, and it's not so much a thing on PC. That's kind of a, there are certain companies that have PC processes in place just to make sure that they launch a smooth PC product. But the consoles absolutely do have this. It's something that's been there for years. I think this goes back to the Nintendo days, right? Like the NES days. If you wanted that old school Nintendo seal of approval, the gold one that we all remember from our childhoods, is that to get that you had to go through a certification process. And some companies actually got really cheesy with it a little bit and said like, hey, we'll bypass that. If you remember those old like Tengen cartridges, there's the black ones. They didn't have the Nintendo seal because they just bypassed the product altogether. And
so as a studio, we're trying to get filing modes. It's the 8 weeks or whatever you want to the time it is. Trying to get 12, it to a state of 0 bugs.
Yes.
And only there will definitely be like hundreds of bugs still in the game, but are we okay to ship with these bugs?
Yes.
Does it start affecting the quality, or is it a livable bug? All that kind of stuff. Once that's all done, then it goes to Sony Microsoft for something called certification, where they then hammer your game even harder. And the reason for this, it's usually about like it can be anywhere from 3 months to like 1 month, depending on how
deep the game is, how clean you go in.
So, but they want to make sure that anything that ships on their platform is at the quality they want, because they don't want a player to play our game and because it's on Xbox instead of PlayStation, it never boots or something like that. They check all these things. They have like tons and tons of other tests that we do in house, but they do it even harder. Chord pulls. It's like, okay, so if on an Xbox One you just pull out your controller when loading this level, the game doesn't load anymore, right? And it's like, oh, well, okay, so they'll so we can get into certification too, because certification is a big reason for day 1 patches.
Yes, absolutely.
And
we get this a lot actually, right? And that's probably worth talking about that. So again, we're doing all this filing work, we're signing off, we're triages. This is where you see, like, if you bought the collector's editions of, like, say, Mass Effect 3, and you see those videos of, like, Casey and the team around a big table with lunch there, and they're just plugging away, and you can see, like, the bug sheet in the reflection of so many of the leads glasses, and it's huge, right? They're going through and they're combing through. I recall, on ME1, ME2, at the very end, we were sitting at that table for 8 hours a day.
Yep.
On Saturdays.
On Dragon Age,
and
was
same thing, right?
On DAI, it was a full days with all that same core team that started way back in ideation, sitting at a table. With the head of QA going through every single bug every day, reprioritizing it, re-triaging it, and also looking for things called change requests.
Yes.
Because where we are trying to get as many cooks out of the kitchen as possible, like you said, we're trying to have as few people touch the build as possible. It's game development, and you need to have a really high quality of a product. Yeah. So if somebody comes in at the last minute, at like 6 weeks away from shipping, is like, no, we need to change the swords to giant cell phones. It's like, why? It's like, because players are going to love it. It'll up our quality. It's going to be the best thing ever. Oh my God. It's like, okay, if we do that, what do we take out? Yeah. Because you lose something, right?
We're getting close on memory, bandwidth,
memory, time, right? Performance. So. Do we have to move the date because we want to add this thing or whatever? Yeah. If you're at filing mode, you're not moving your date.
You're probably not moving that date. Yeah, exactly. And I think, again, this topic really felt appropriate to me coming off crunch, because what leads to some of the crunch is going into final. You're really at that point of like, there's very few levers you're able to pull at that point. You've kind of initiated that process.
Really few levers?
Levers.
Sorry. Levers?
I think levers. You may. All right. Yeah.
There's too many levers in the game.
Yeah. but yeah, that's really what it comes down to. Is you got there's not a lot of give anymore at that point, right? You got to either throw more people at the problem, which has its own set of problems. We'll talk. We could probably even go do a whole other topic on that of like a follow up to crunch. But the idea of like, the reason why you crunch as a team is that if you bring someone new onto the team, you kind of people hose, as we call it.
Yep.
The problem with that is that you take the people who are already working at high velocity, high capacity, who are experts in their field or experts in their content and systems, and going, okay, take some of your time to ramp up someone else to try to hopefully get more out of these other people too. But you've dropped that other person who was working at really high volume to 50% to ramp up someone else, right? So it's tricky, right? And that's where the finaling really comes down to, is that you're in crunch usually. No matter, I think even when we talked about crunch last week and the idea of like, could you ever get rid of crunch? I think there's still always going to be some element of it in filing, because
in filing, especially the last little bit. Yeah, that's those things that I was talking about of. It's the overtime. It's like, no, we got to ship this thing. It's, for a few days, and I think it's totally fine, because a programmer isn't going to crunch for the full 2 weeks or whatever. But like, maybe we need a level designer who made this level. There's something wrong with it, to go in and work that night or whatever it is. Yeah. But yeah, so as we start to get less and less cooks in the kitchen, teams start rolling off the project pretty much. Yeah. You'll be like, okay, all of design, you're out of the pool now.
Exactly.
Or actually, they're one of the last ones. It's like, all the writers, you guys are out of the pool.
Yeah.
All the, who else comes out next? Like artists, you guys are done, right? Yeah. Then tech art stays around for a long time. VFX and audio come in super late.
Yes.
Usually they come in super hot. Just the nature of them being so far down. If you think of writing and concept art over here
at the top of the waterfall,
at the top of the waterfall, audio and VFX is usually at the end,
very end.
Just because it's like, audio is not going to go in until the cinematic is done, and the cinematic's not going to go in until the level's done, and the level's not going to be done until they have the art palette that they're using, and that's not like, it's just
it's a giant, I want to say ripple effect, but it really is a waterfall. It's just you have to wait for everything kind of tear down, right? Saw a question about how long does it take for certification. We can't explain exact details because it is contractual, but you can assume roughly, a little over a month. Yeah, it is a pretty safe assumption. It gets a little bit shorter on DLC, but that goes into what it's a good segue off of what Blair was just talking about. So as the team goes into certification, and as we're kind of doing that filing process, you go, okay, well, we want fewer people in the main build, because again, fewer people touching the build ensures at least helps to ensure stability. But then you got to go, well, what do you do with those people, right? They got to do something.
Yes, we had this question pop up because you can tweet at ProducerHax the questions for the week, and we'll read them on the stream.
Absolutely.
But it was about what do you do with developers that rolled off the project, or like, is everybody working right up to ship day? It's like, no, like,
exactly.
and that's why different companies do it totally differently. But we have the two projects going on at the same time, multiple projects, just so that concept art, when it's not needed at the end of the cycle, well, they can start concepting whatever's the new thing, right? Like, and it keeps going forward like that.
Yeah, and I think even that, we always got questions from back in the day of like day one DLC. How does it happen, right? Does that mean you cut something out of the game? And the answer, I can say definitively, I've worked on almost every day one DLC we've done, at least on the Mass Effect franchise in the past, and it never ever got done and then cut out. That's actually more problem than people could ever imagine. To take something, then put it into the game, and then at the last minute go, cut it out, extract it, is one of the most dangerous things you can do to a build.
How risky that would be to your build is unbelievable.
You change the entire disc layout, you change everything as a result. That is like literally one of the most dangerous things. That's like putting a bomb in your build and just waiting to see what will happen. Just going like,
it's so,
let's see what happens.
So from my opinion and my experiences, we've never done that. I don't know. Other studios maybe somewhere.
It's possible.
Whatever.
Always possible.
But for us, absolutely not. And so the reason there's a difference between perception, and what the gaming public perceives, and it's totally valid to perceive this. It's like, well, because you don't understand all the context behind it, and something called filing, and going for certification. Well, what are these devs doing while they're waiting for cert to come back, or because it really comes
into like a lot of people may be wondering for cert, it really feels like hurry up and wait. Because you're just sitting there waiting for them to phone you back or send
like,
a report
this thing's
going,
broken.
It's broke, start all over again. You're like,
and you recertify,
and you're sitting there like just like waiting.
So what are the devs doing? They're working on more stuff, whether it's your DLC or they're moved off to another project,
taking a bit of project time to kind of
but if
recover.
You have exactly. But if you have planned for DLC on your project, you have a group of people that are just sitting making the next thing, and how long it takes them might just be as long as the certification process. So you might get something on day one, and it's not the devs being, or the studio or the publisher or whatever being like, oh, we can get more money out of these people. It's like, no, here's an awesome thing we want to add, that we didn't have time to when we were shipping the game, but now that the game is off to the certification people, or it's getting the final bugs that only a few people can touch, the other creators are like, okay, well, let's make this fun new super shotgun or whatever, like, and we can add that into DLC. But that's the difference between perception and what's actually happening. And like, day one DLC is such a negatively viewed thing, even when you try to explain to them, well, the devs are working on stuff, people still are super adverse to it, because they feel that you're taking advantage of them, or you pulled something out of the game, which isn't true. But that's why at least on Inquisition, we didn't have any.
We opted not to, right? We said rather than even just try to explain it and show people, we could have shown everybody like, okay, here's like the
Canary armor set ready to go.
Exactly, right? Or like, hey, here's the shovel to ground, right? Like, we're breaking ground kind of a moment of like, here's when this DLC starts. People are like, no, I saw the hooks, I saw the thing, right? And we had that, right? It's the example we often talk about is Javik from ME3, because people went into the source code and said, or into the the file structure and said, hey, I found hooks for him in conversations. And we said, of course, when we started to realize that it was something we were going to do, we have to stub in things to make it extendable, right? Otherwise, in order to patch, depending on how you've set things up, you may have to repatch the entire game. So there are games that have done this recently. I don't want to name names just because it's not kind, I guess, but there are games in the last year that I've seen on my PS4, my Xbox One. I re-downloaded 45 gigs as part of a patch because they had to repatch the entire executable to handle putting a new character in or putting a new feature in, and you're like, holy, like, so this is, but the nice thing with that is that you go, oh, well, it's very clear at that point that this is a thing they came up with after the fact. So I guess if you want to feel good about that, then that's good.
And it's so even if you have something ready to go on day one, I would advise, like, here's some advice to game developers. I would advise not, like, holding on to it for even 2 weeks or 1 week. Just public perception is totally.
It's twisted. Yeah.
Like 1 week after it's fine. Day one is such a
you
red
must
button.
have done something evil.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I would recommend that. My mom just joined the chat.
Nice.
Ma Bruin, say hi to Ma Bruin if you
Howdy.
guys. Hi, Mom.
Yeah.
So that's the day one patch, the day one DLC. No, sorry, that's not the day one patch. That's day one DLC. What are devs doing
leading up to it, right?
Leading up
So
to
let's
filing,
assume
leading up to certification.
Yeah, you get that month or so. And
but what's a day one patch? Because pretty much every single game ships with a day one patch now.
Yeah, and a lot of people assume lazy developer, right?
Lazy developer.
Lazy developers.
Why didn't you fix all those bugs?
No, and exactly. I think the thing I like to clarify with that is that it's not new stuff that's coming in on day one. At least not usually. For us, from every product I've ever worked on, we've always shipped a day one DLC. Sorry, day one patch.
Day one patch.
There are day one DLCs that usually go hand in hand with them, but the patches are almost always there. They're usually fairly small too, and the reason for them is that as you're going through certification, Microsoft or Sony can basically send back a report that says this is a must fix. You're not proceeding.
No, you
like
have
this.
to resubmit.
Yeah, and that will sometimes cause, like you said, a resubmission, and you have to go through the whole process again. Now, sometimes they'll say we're just not it's a full stop. We are stopping your certification right here, right now, until you fix this thing. And you've often, as a developer and a publisher, try to trim as much of that fat out of that schedule as possible, right? You're taking every possible minute you can for the team to fix everything they can to get the game to the best possible state for day one. But in those cases where they go, look, okay, these things, full stop. We're not moving forward unless you fix these things, and you try to get a build back to them like the next day, basically. Like you're working, and that's where crunch really happens, is in those type moments. Sometimes though, they go, look, you should fix this.
Yes.
It's not a requirement, but you should fix this. This is going to be player impacting. And sometimes we have something we go, we know we can get through certification as we are.
Yep.
We're pretty damn certain, and it's looking like it's going to happen.
QA has signed off on the build.
Exactly. We've signed off to say we're ready to go, but we have a couple fixes in our back pocket where we go, like, if they make us resubmit, we want to get these things in there too, because we just want the game to be that much better.
Yep.
We know that we can fix stability. We know we can fix this. Oh, there's a texture that flickers every once in a while. We want to get that fixed too.
There's a critical bug that will break the economy or something.
Yeah, exactly, right? And those things you can get in, and they just sit on top of the game, essentially, right? There's a day one patch. And again, if you were not connected online, you would get whatever shipped in retail, and, so be it. And that's usually what it is. Like, a lot of the ones that ship as part of a day one patch are either required for online usage.
Yeah.
So if you really don't want to be online for whatever reason, a lot of folks have their reasons, you just go, cool, pop the disc in, and then you go,
and you're ready to play.
I'm ready to rock. Right?
Sony Microsoft won't allow anything
to require it.
Yeah.
There's reasons for that, because you can't guarantee that someone who goes and picks up a game at like a Walmart or a brick and mortar store has an online connection.
And that's why they do the certification. That's pretty much the main reasons. They have a product that they need to, and a brand that they need to protect.
Yes, exactly.
Which is their console, and that every game has to, like, I spent my $60 on the game, and I spent my $400, $500, whatever the console cost is. Yeah. This shit better work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we're very fortunate, right? We have a group here that's coming in and chatting with us about game development.
Yep.
But the vast majority of folks that come into a game store, buy a game, not always the people who are playing the game, right? It might be a parent, might be a grandparent, loved one, family member, friend, whoever, right? It's someone buying a gift for someone else, right?
90% of the gaming public is pretty casual.
Yeah, they just know that it came in a green or blue case, and it goes into one of those machines and done, right? That's the level that they're comfortable learning about at that point. And if that's the case, you can't assume that they're going to know X, Y, or Z, or care about the fact that there's a patch coming or why it's coming, things like that, right? So, and that goes again to the point you're making of, like, Sony and Microsoft have to protect for that, because in those cases they don't go, BioWare or EA or whoever, Activision, Ubi did this thing to me. They go, no, my Sony doesn't work. Oh, my Microsoft doesn't work, right? Like, that's the level, right? So maybe we'll jump to a couple questions too. We got a few that came in over the week, so thank you again to everybody who sent in questions.
Don't do
Friday,
don't do Steph's.
Okay.
I'll save those. So Bella sent us in a bunch. about dealing with criticism, feedback from fans, and how do we incorporate that into future games or DLC. I want to have that for the show that Cypher recommended or
the
suggested.
interaction.
Fan and dev interaction.
Yeah, and that because that stuff actually feeds into a lot of different topics, which is great. It's a good broad question, but I think we'll hang on to it for maybe.
I can narrow that down for next week.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah.
Rob Tachi has something.
Yeah, it says what's busier and more nerve-wracking, what's busier and more nerve-wracking, days before release, so before cert essentially to the team, or just after release?
Before.
Yeah, I think
busier before, nerve-wracking after.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way to break it down. Actually, is that it's very, very busy leading up to getting to cert. I still recall, like, this is just one example, but I'm
just dancing. Billy's
I'm trying to think about things.
I'm just like, killed it.
Blair's like, wow,
got it done.
But so, like, example, this wasn't even just like trying to ship a game, but just even the things I've been doing this past couple of weeks was trying to get ready for an event, and or a build. And that's like nerve-wracking in its own, or busy on its own. Then you get a thing like an actual build that has to go out to millions of people and go live on a day and has to be boxed, everything. Your stomach is a flutter the entire time.
You don't know how reviews are going to come in. Sometimes you do if
you may have a good idea, but you're always curious and skeptical and the days leading up to cert are intense. There's a lot of coffee that gets drank. There's a lot of Coke Zero in my case. You're running around as a producer. You're running around everywhere. You are trying to get everything moving at light speed.
That is the more nerve-wracking. That's the busier. Sorry, that's the more busier.
Busy.
That's the work. The nerve-wracking stuff comes from. It's different for most devs. It's like, I really just want to see a successful launch. I want people to be having a lot of fun playing my game, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like finally the fruits of my labor.
Yes.
Is out there.
And you don't know how it's going to be received, right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's stressful. So if it's positive, then great. Unless you're on live.
Yes.
Something called live service, live support.
Field Flux
and Force Pixels just talked about that.
Yeah.
It's because we were on live service for the whole post Dragon Age.
Yeah.
The game is a big example was Diablo 3's launch.
Yes.
Error 47, 37, 27?
34,
something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And nobody could connect to their servers on launch night, right? And it's like, me personally, I was like, I took tomorrow off because I'm staying up all night playing this. I was so infuriated.
Yeah.
And that's the if you're on the live team, that's your busy, nerve-wracking one is be like, okay, everybody's connecting to the server right now. Let's see what goes on, and you hope everything goes great, obviously. But if it doesn't, then it's not even alarm bells need to be rung because everybody's there for we had something called a war room.
Yeah.
And it was just everybody in a room with a phone to like pretty much Aaron. Yeah. That if something happened and we need to get him on the call, he was like one button away.
Yeah.
Because we had all these monitors monitoring everything from server status to players logging in. We were watching Twitch streams
on a couple different TVs in the room.
And all on the forums, all over the help sites and stuff like this, trying to find like, okay, is everything going good? Are we ready to go?
Yeah.
Do we need to call somebody in? But it was usually
everyone's got their Google alerts on like high.
It was a producer,
QA.
like 3 QA.
Yeah.
Programmers on standby, a designer on set. There was all the leads ready to come in if something just went down.
Yeah.
Because it's
if
something doesn't go good on shit day.
I still remember. So when we launched ME3, we were doing multiplayer and we had no idea how fans were going to react to this. But luckily, I had the fortune of working on the demo that was going to launch a few weeks before the game, and so we finished up. And I still remember this day. We were talking about this the other night. The date we went into certification for the demo and the date we went into certification for the main game, they were about a week apart. And I was like, God, like I went to this grill to get through this absolute human gauntlet to get the demo done, and then went through it a week later to get the main game done. And because the demo was smaller, it has a slightly shorter cert time, and it gets out there. And I remember sitting there just like laser focused on the screen, and then we go, all of a sudden it goes bloop, like the graph goes up. It's all the people that are starting the download, and you're like, oh god, like it's real.
It's happening.
It is now
It's
real.
happening.
It went from being like this hypothetical thing, this thing that we've been building for a few years at that point, and going, okay, like it's suddenly becoming real. And I still remember, I think Jeff was mentioning in the chat here, like the same thing, right? We did a thing for Dragon Age Inquisition called EA Access that was part of a program on the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing, that to me was even almost more frightening to a degree,
EA
because
Access
it's the real game. It's not even just like a demo, which is like this, small little like 3 gigabyte thing.
It was the full game.
It's the full game
for launch,
but with a couple like hooks in there to make sure like
you couldn't
spoil the story for everybody else.
Exactly.
But yes, you had this situation where everyone could be downloading this as long as they had access to the EA Access program, and multiplayer was there. And that's what I worked on. And so, of course, you're like looking at it like, going like, oh my God, are the servers going to hold up? We've done all this testing. Your gut tells you it absolutely should. Certification, it worked, but like every moment, like your chest is tight. Like I've never had a heart attack, not hopefully going to have one, but that feeling of like that, and I generally handle stress fairly well, but.
I'm kidding.
But like I generally don't like to get like flustered or anything like that. But like I still remember, like anytime you launch, you're like
it's
the muscles are tightened,
worst,
right?
Like it's all. I was just getting another question here.
Yeah.
From Biofan Official. I think most of the people on the channel probably know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
What happens at the studio after a title goes gold, and what determines when the game is ready to ship? What determines when the game is ready to ship? Actually, is an easy one.
Yeah,
it's QA. Oh, there it was.
Yeah, it was here. Yeah.
It's QA. QA when it comes down to the end of the project, QA has the final say if this thing goes out the door. At least at our studio.
Yeah.
They have an unbelievably huge checklist of every system, every feature, every level, every art asset, mind-bogglingly big.
Yeah.
And every box has to be checked off.
Yes.
Right. Like otherwise we don't send it out for to go gold or gold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in order to declare gold, that checklist has to be completed, and it's there's QA does different sign-offs throughout the development process, and the most critical of all is that it's the final sign-off, and that's where if you see someone not too long ago, there's a lot of buzz and hype when Uncharted 4 or when Battleborn, their directors are going like, we went gold. And I still recall when Mark was able to tweet that for Dragon Age Inquisition.
It's the best feeling ever.
It's like that sigh of relief.
It's
You're
gone.
Like, oh
it's
God,
out the door.
It's there.
It's in the hands of the manufacturer on its way to
exactly.
houses.
It's now being pressed onto discs, and it's being uploaded to servers for digital downloads and prepping for
it's the real deal.
It's all ready, right? Except for that day one patch,
except for the day
possibly,
one patch,
which generally happens, and then going live, like we said, right? That's a big change that's happened in the last probably 10 or so years now. Is the idea of going from a boxed good to more of a service model, right? It's you ship a game, but then you ship a service that attaches right away with it day one.
Yeah, a game is no longer done.
Yeah, the fire and forget model is over.
It's
you are committing.
This, you have to support, or I don't know if you should. So,
it depends on the product.
It depends on the type of product, but you probably should support it later because people want more.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't gonna all buy it and play it on day one and finish it. People are gonna be playing this thing for 6 months, a year, or whatever it is, and you need to have patches ready to support all these people when they find a problem or whatever. That's why games get patched multiple times. For two reasons. One is a patch prepares for a DLC. Because certain things have to be in the game for a DLC to work. Just depending on your engine and how all the connections line up. A lot of the times you have to patch to download a DLC. The other thing is, people found a new bug. Or like a lot of the looter shooters. Destiny had this one with the loot caves. Division had it with some kind of similar thing with a boss. But it was, people are breaking your game.
Your economy
is going to... utter hell. Holy crap, we need a hotfix. And there's different types of patches. So you can get a hotfix in, which Sony, Microsoft will usually be like, let's get this thing in there. Because they want people playing the games too, right? And having fun and not breaking them. And then there's also big patches where it's like, no, okay, we can leave this for a month before we actually have to fix it.
Yeah.
But for the economy ones, it's
those exploits are rough, and often when you think of a hot fix, especially in this day and age, it's usually something that's done like very quickly on a server, right? It's server config push. Those have a lot of problems usually, because now suddenly you may have a discrepancy between, say, the server and the client, which,
they might be
someone like Jeff can tell you is just a lot of fun.
We did server pushes every Friday.
Yeah, but always within the context of like what was available to us within the client, right? And so the server can talk to it and speak the same language.
We never tried to touch anything that would mess up. That's how we did all of our bounce tweaks weekly. Designer would come up with some bounce tweaks, and then Jeff would implement the programming server side stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw Tim mentioned something really
Tim
important.
just popped in. He's one of our most senior developers at
all of Bioware. Yeah, exactly. And
monster programmer.
You see, exactly. Yeah, DLC expansions, weekly MP events. Once it goes cold, things settle down, right? Exactly.
It's exactly it.
It totally nailed it.
It's if you're on the live team, if you get moved to the next project, then you kind of have maybe a little bit of time, but depends on what state that project's in. You might be ramping into another end game kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like Jeff said, at least every Friday. Sometimes Tuesdays, sometimes Thursdays, depending on what was going on. But I think that's the thing right now is like we used to talk about this, and we'll probably eventually do like an entire show, I think, dedicated to live service, because we've spent a lot of time with it. I've done a few projects on this now. You and I work together, obviously.
I learned
DAI
a ton on DAI.
The thing I love about live service, and why I kind of want to touch on it a little bit right now, is that just live service teaches you everything at an extreme rate.
Yep.
So we used to tell this to people. People were like, "Oh my god, like you guys are busy, eh?" We're like, yes, because if you think about launching a product, you're technically launching a product. Maybe not on the same scope and scale, but you're launching a product every single week.
We were launching a product every week, and it was funny because post ship of Inquisition, we had 3 major DLCs.
Yeah.
The Descent, Trespasser, and what was the first one? The one where
Jaws of Hakon.
Jaws of Hakon. So when everybody took a break, kind of. You ship a product, everybody's like, okay, go take your vacations now. If you got some saved up, go get some sleep, go enjoy your families.
Yes.
Everybody chill out. And then the team starts, the DLC team starts coming back in and start, okay, well, what kind of DLC do we want to make? Sometimes you have this plan before you ship. Sometimes it's like we were talking about, that's where day one stuff comes from, or week one. And sometimes it shows up later because you're supporting the game for the year, whatever. So the DLC team starts coming back on. Like, what kind of story do we want to tell? I don't know. Let's try this new idea. There's a new mechanic. And they go to like our little corner of the office, and it's just me and Billy running between 2 rooms, because we were in 2 rooms. All of our programmers were in the corner one, and we had our one right beside it. Just back and forth all day, like hair on fire. And people were like, what's going on with you guys? You guys seem really busy. It's like, god damn it, we're shipping a product every Friday. Look at Jeff. Look at Jeff. Look at him, man. He needs a break.
Yeah, you definitely develop a whole other style of working. And you get scrappy, right? Like
you find ways to make shit happen.
Yep. Because in a perfect situation, everything's perfectly planned out. I think you learn very quickly in the online world and in a live service, things rarely go as planned.
Yep.
Something comes up, someone gets sick.
Yeah.
These things change quickly,
big bus
right?
factor on
exactly.
on our live team.
Especially if you have like a small team, right? And towards the end, we definitely had a small team, and we were trying to like fill gaps we wouldn't normally. So, people wearing multiple hats is the idea, right? Producers are doing designer work, designers are doing a bit of programming work, programmers are doing the work of multiple programmers. Like Jeff
showed me how to debug.
Yeah.
That was my favorite day.
And
showed me how to debug my own challenges, because I did the weekend challenges every week, or mostly every week, but Billy did a bunch too. Because you were the higher level job of managing the whole vision. When are we going to drop stuff? What are we going to drop stuff? And I was just like your little gopher, which was awesome, because it was like assistant producer, right? Like that was my job. But then it was like, okay, well, your designer's going away for a couple weeks. It's like, I guess I'm making challenges now. And you just learn new skills. It was an unbelievably cool thing to cut my teeth on that.
Yeah,
I think we learned what not to do.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I remember like even Jeff was a beast for us. We had a few others in there too: Luke, Sydney, David, Andy did a ton.
Oh yeah,
we had even leading up, like, because this is just like the live service, and we also had, like, DLCs that were happening. Dragon Slayer was a ton of fun to work with, but it was just that idea that you had to. It felt almost like indie dev to a degree.
It did.
It was like you were getting a little bit scrappy. You were doing things you wouldn't normally do in your, like, defined role. You were kind of bridging
live
different
services.
areas.
It's super high stress.
Yeah.
High
tempo.
It was really fun. High tempo,
sure,
really fun.
Yeah.
But you need to, I guess, like, from a producer standpoint, like, looking to future products or, like, other studios, you guys need multiple teams, I think, handling the live service so that people can get time off from it.
Yes. Yeah.
Because even though it's still, like, it was 10-hour days, normal 9 to 5 kind of stuff, or we tried to make it, other than when there was a fire, you had this overarching stress demon that was like, you're shipping something Friday. You're shipping something Friday.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
which means
Friday.
you're actually shipping it probably Thursday night,
exactly.
right? And
so live service, I think you need to split those teams up, maybe work them every other week. That's the team that's on, kind
exactly.
of thing. Just thinking about, sorry, it was just, that popped in my head for.
Yeah, we talked about a lot, right, as we came off of the live service for Dragon Age, and I think a lot of it was, we had some folks in the studio like, oh my god, you guys do launch things on Friday morning, like right at 10 a.m. and
you
11 a.m.
Think
like,
about this. We're launching something, or live services, or if they do weekly updates or whatever it is. There's a team of people that are launching something to 5 million people every Friday, or Destiny 20 million, whatever your numbers are. It's like the quality has to be at the same level as the initial product shipped.
Or it gets called out very quickly, right? People spot that stuff, so. And that was a big part of how Dragons and Donuts started, right? It's just saying, like, how do you bring more visibility to the fact that you are doing this thing? And we used to have a routine that we did every single Friday where, Friday morning, we get in around between 9 and 10. We'd go straight into, I'd boot up my Xbox, my PS4, I'd retail kits at my desk, still do. It's a lot of fun.
We'd make sure all the challenges were live.
Jeff would make sure
Jeff would run in going, it's not working!
Yeah. Sometimes we discover that daylight savings was not our friend. And we were like, oh geez, GMT, we had to do, we had a chart that we had to do math on to see, like, where do we land against GMT, and it depended on if it was daylight savings or not, because GMT doesn't give a shit about daylight savings.
And so that was... I think we'll talk about Dragons and Donuts a lot. Maybe next week when I do my fan interaction one, because it was a big part of that.
That's what started that. Yeah.
We wanted to be more connected with the community.
Yeah. How could we keep that feeling of being like at a PAX show?
Yep.
On the weekly, right?
Exactly.
So let's take. We had a few more questions, I think.
Any idea on the next cooking stream? Possibly tomorrow.
Very, very, very topical for today. Yeah. Oh my god, a lot of interactions all of a sudden today. Any differences between CERT for Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo? No, they're pretty similar. We can't get into a whole lot of detail because they actually are contractual, and they are considered like industry secrets. You can't get into a lot of them, but it's basically they all have the same purpose. They're all generated, born of the same process. Essentially, Nintendo started this ages and ages and ages ago, and everybody said like that's probably a smart idea. Like,
the funny thing with the Nintendo one actually was, to get that Nintendo seal of approval, you didn't just get what we now call certification, where they send back a list of bugs. Nintendo would send you like, hey, here's some things you could make your game better with. Yes. They were actually looking at the whole quality of the product in Nintendo. Whereas now it's mostly like bug fix, like the what are they called? Consoles. Yeah. The console manufacturers trust you that you have a good product at this point.
Yeah, they kind of capture that earlier. Like one of the things we didn't really get into, but like as we went through each of those gates, so to speak, that we were talking about earlier. I just wanted to touch them really. Yeah, but back in the day, Nintendo kind of did that. Towards the end of the project, you'd submit it and go like, "Hey, can we be approved?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, cool, but if you want, you can also add these things and extend your timeline." Essentially, that was back in the day when games were made by like 8 people, right? Yeah, so it was a bit different. The thing now, as you kind of initially like submit your game to console manufacturers, there's like a green light process essentially, and that's one of the things that you have to do is like you have to go get publisher sign off, because this is why people will say like, I have this amazing idea and didn't get made. Well, yeah, because if it's something that's like super super crazy gory, most of them will go like, you can't get into Walmart, or you can't get into Australia, or you can't
ESRB
do this, right?
won't be able to do
won't be able to rate you, right? So the companies will usually go like, no, like take it back and
and I
figure
actually,
that out, right?
I kind of want to pull back because I don't want to get too into EA's publishing.
No, absolutely not.
Plans.
And that's
we don't want to go down that road.
That's just global. That's everybody, right?
Yeah.
So
we
yeah.
don't want to get in trouble on the stream.
No. We want to. The stream is built for information, right?
Yeah, totally.
We want to educate and inform where we can.
I'm starting to conceptualize what this podcast is from what I wanted it to be to what it's turning into. I think it's just it's a little light. Like there's game development over here, and it's just showing a little bit of light into it to give people who are interested a bit more information, a bit more.
It's a flashlight down the mine shaft, right? Yeah.
It's like I want to know about like why do they do day one DLC? It's like okay, we can talk about that.
Exactly. We talk about like high level philosophical stuff. We'll generally avoid
trying
very
to keep it super fun
game specific stuff, right? So
but yeah, so
let's see anything. See anything pop up in the chat right now.
Any questions in the chat?
We had a whole bunch lined up, but we were gonna say
I killed them. You had a bunch lined up, but no, they're gone.
Yeah, so we did have a question from Liv.
To do an episode on QA.
I did respond to that. I said I think at some point we will. I have a lot of history with QA. We work very closely with QA on every single project. I think it's one of the things I really enjoy about working at BioWare is that they work. It's at a core level. QA is involved very early and throughout and very integral to.
We
the
do
team,
something
right?
called embedding them.
Yes, it's not common in a lot of studios. It's publisher exclusively thing, and it's off in the distance. This is big with indies too, right? If you submit your game to like Microsoft, the ID at Xbox, you may be a one-person dev team. I remember reading this about wasn't Hotline Miami. I think it was Retro City Rampage, and it's like one guy, and he's like, I can't do all the stuff, so I do the level I believe in and what I need to cover, and then ID at Xbox kind of covered everything else for me, right? So. But yes, QA is a very big part, and I think we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely do one on QA. Tweeted us with what you want us to talk about, because we'll eventually run out of ideas. Yeah,
if you tweet at especially if you tweet at the at ProducerHax account, that's a great way for us to kind of like funnel it all together, because if it comes into our normal channels, we spot it, we try to not jot it down on a notepad or something like that, but it doesn't always like stick.
Or I have it on my phone and I bring it up in the middle of a stream.
Yeah, exactly. Mom's calling.
QA. We'll definitely do one on QA. They are definitely some of the most important people on game dev. So tweet at us with that kind of stuff. I don't know if anybody has any more questions about finaling a game or shipping a game. I think that actually, do you want to scroll up in the chat? I think Captain Twaz asked something way higher up.
He does these things. He asks questions. The wizard is intelligent. He can see into my mind most days.
Probably gone at this point.
Maybe gone.
Too much chatting.
Oh my.
Hi, it's your mom. That one. That's the best one.
Yeah.
All right. Talk about the fun of preparing for E3 and other shows.
We
will definitely
go. We
can do a deep dive into demos. Because that was one of my main rules on Dragon Age.
I think that might be like one of those. Like, so if next week is like the interaction with fans, this is either like a subtopic of that or almost like the week after kind of thing.
Yeah, right? I think it might be the week after, because it could. I want to get into the dev side of demos, not the what fans see.
Exactly.
Kind of demos.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories of like what we had to do to get like, you talked about the one PAX Prime 2013 and then PAX Prime 2014 was the one I led for the multiplayer, and that was the multiplayer reveal essentially for Dragon Age. So but there's a lot of things that go in there, so
I guess
we're getting pretty close here to about an hour. Thank you everybody again for joining us. What are you gonna be streaming tonight? Maybe
I'm not gonna be streaming tonight. It's Game of Thrones. I need to find a new night for me and Sarah to stream. But are you going live right after this?
May do something. Yeah, go check on things upstairs, see how family's doing. Then I gotta get back into stream. It's been over a week since I've streamed. That's pretty much it for filing a game. Obviously, always just tweet us with questions and we can answer them. If they're a topic we've already covered, or we can bring them into a whole podcast. We're here almost every Sunday, except for next Sunday. We'll figure out a time for that one.
I gotta find a time, but it will be not next week, but it will be the week after. It might be during the week, or maybe we do it at lunchtime or something crazy like that.
We'll see.
But other than that, there's that's it for today's Gamedev Podcasts, ProducerHax.
Indeed.
So yeah, thanks everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on Blair's channel. And
if you're thanks for stopping by at /TheFiddzz. Of course, always go to Billy's channel as well. Follow him at ehlien. But if you're watching the stream live right now, just stick around because we'll be right back.
Indeed.